record. So in what we really want to do and what we have found is that we have lots of things in common as the background image we have in this. We were together as a continent, and that means that we have many relationships, like the earth connect us in some way, and historically we need also to reconnect, that people to reconnect with between African people and Latin American people. And we have lots of things in common, and we have lots of differences as well. So the idea is to find out how to create from that, and how to foster and to map these transformations, and to create transformation from this Latin Africa Ubuntu relationship. So the convener of this working scheme is Tsitsi Maratse, and she is based in Zimbabwe, Harare. And I am the fellow of the working stream, and it is kind of a shared functions. And we are also connecting with other people in the team that are here, and some of them are not yet here. So we start this circle of people. So we will be Dorothy, Amanda, Vanessa, Ronald, Mutiswa, Senda, Adeline, and myself. And the idea is that we have channels to communicate, and we want to be a little bit more formal on presentations and the reasons why we are all here. So I want to pass the word to Tsitsi. So if you want to introduce, you are in mute.
Thank you for the reminder. Okay, so like Melina has alluded to, I also want to welcome everyone as a co-convener for this work stream. And seeing that we're talking about two regions, Melina and I are sort of co-hosting, we're co-convening as well. So feel free to use any language. We're discussing even the issues of language the other time as we're preparing for this. So feel free to also do that, to use whatever, English, or is it Spanish, which is the dominant language in your region, Melina and Vanessa?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So I think we'll continue like that. But anyway, my name is Tsitsi Maratse. I am a development consultant, but professionally, I'm an organizational development and change management practitioner. I am working mainly with civil society organization. I'm working mainly in the development sector, where I've been doing some work, some consultancy work for like 20 years or so now, working mainly as a freelance consultant. I love to work in the human rights sector, usually, but my client base cuts across every sector of development. So I can work in water, sanitation, climate change, and all that, even if I'm not an expert in any of those. Thank you. So I also like to work as a human rights defender, where I'm actually perhaps trying to promote, trying to protect the rights of those that are marginally excluded. And as we do that, trying to make meaning of what development really looks like, what development means for everyone, especially the marginalized groups or communities, so that we can actually harness collectively our collective responsibility to contribute meaningfully to development. So that's really my passion. And I think this is what enables me to work either in Africa, and I've had a little bit experience in Europe, but I really like to work with people. I enjoy conversations. I enjoy the different cultures, languages, the ways people relate and engage. So I think this is why I also prioritized this work stream, because I just wanted to also connect at that level within the bigger transformation mapping working group. I wanted to connect with people from different parts of the world, including those from Latin America. So I'm really excited and looking forward to learning more, exchanging more, so that we can co-create a new and maybe different trajectory for development for our regions and the world over. So yeah, that's me. And then maybe Melina, you want to introduce yourself next, and then we can ask Vanessa and Ronald.
Okay, you passed the ball. Well, my name is Melina Angel. I am a biologist at the beginning, and I studied biomimicry, which is the emulation of life. I am a biomimicry professional, and I have started to work more with social systems using biomimicry and bioinspiration, working with social systems. And that is a very new realm, let's say, because biomimicry has been done more for product design and processes and industrial design and all these things. So I have been pioneer for the last 8 years in social innovation, bio-inspired social innovation, and trying to understand life for humans, which is kind of a little bit strange because we are alive, and at the same time we are we have all this illusion of separation from nature and all these self definitions of why we are not natural or why we are human, and all these kind of discussions there. But at the same time, I acknowledge and I have witnessed that we are definitely living systems, and we act as nature, as natural systems. So it has been a process of bringing together these observations and how we are, in order to put life in the center of every decision and every organization that we can promote and have. So the idea is that um, seeing how life flourishes, solving the needs of the moment, we are so connected with our own nature. So trying to find how life is in us, we are really reconnecting ourselves with nature, like finding our own nature. And that has been my work for the last maybe 5 years. A little bit more like like applying this and understanding these dynamics and making models for those dynamics, and having to design processes and community processes and organizations and like a private companies processes as well, to make them understand themselves as living beings for the people and for the organizations. And I had been doing that for communities and social environmental conflict territories. And so that's my experience. That was I had been doing. I have now a partnership with another systemic person called Juliana Borges, and she's also a fellow of the transformation work streams. And and we have a company called Biosystemics, like a putting together these understandings of life and systems thinking in order to help others to see what it is invisible, to make the visible the invisible. and which is our own nature, which is our own connection and knowing on how to do things. So, and create more regenerative systems. So that's me. I am in Colombia, you know, and I have a son who is now in his class behind me. And yeah, I live in the countryside next to a big national park. So that's nice. Thank you. I pass it to Ronald. You are on mute.
Sorry, I didn't know I was muted. Ronald Dennis Ochaya is my name, and basically I am an economist by profession and also an evaluator and researcher by practice and training. I'm currently based in Uganda, and at the moment I am the focal point supporting with monitoring, evaluation, accountability, and planning for Dan Church Aid, basically for disaster preparedness and response project in West Nile region and Northern region in Uganda. So when you look at some of my activities, it is really in line with trying to understand a lot more in terms of the complexity involved, in terms of mapping, in terms of visualization, especially with regards to vulnerability, hazards, and risk assessment, risk mapping, so that we can proactively prepare for disaster, because we know disaster has come to stay with us. There is no place which is not experiencing disaster, and therefore we need to incorporate or integrate it into our planning in terms of the contingency planning, in terms of being proactive to prepare ahead. Previously, I worked for CARE International in West Nile region of Uganda, and I actually championed the setting up of results-based meal system for its humanitarian operations, right from putting in place the mobile data collection platform where we track thousands of beneficiaries in terms of uh, the response, and then also prepared for kind of uh, other activities like gender kind of auditing, gender audits, as well as leading various assessments and evaluation. And I've had a lot of kind of experience to do with the need to really improve practice in terms of learning from other experts in the industry, broadly in terms of how best we can use system mapping and analysis, how we can actually transform mapping and analysis itself, but also in terms of the practice, scaling it down, because this is a very new concept here. There are very few expertise here, yet we work in a very complex situation, and therefore it has brought issues to do with adaptive operational issues where things do not move, or where things are not clearly understood in terms of relationships, in terms of structures, in terms of processes, the institutional impact, and so on. This is one area I have been yearning for in order to improve my professional practice, and then be able to also champion transformation analysis and system mapping as part of professional practice, but also learning and also sharing my experience and trying to figure out if this can also change the way we do things, mingling with aspects of knowledge management, how we communicate research findings, how we demonstrate impact or evidence, especially among the beneficiaries in terms of how we solicit for feedback so that we can improve our practice. So I look forward to sharing more in terms of my learning and experience, but also more in terms of getting to also understand from you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ronald. Interesting. I think I can see a lot of synergies or potential synergies between your work and also what I do, and I would like to explore that a bit more. And I remember, I think some of it, we were discussing this under the Blue Marble evaluation training that we also jointly participated in. So thank you for that reminder. I really would like us to explore that a bit more. So over to you, Vanessa. Tell us a bit more about yourself.
Yeah, thank you
Please.
so much. I deeply honor this space. Really, I'm quite uneasy. It's important for me because I think this desire of getting together and building South-South relationships for many reasons, it's super alive in me. And I'm listening to you and like all the challenges and what you do, and I just feel like I cannot be like sit down, you know, like I need to stand up. And it's I honor and I respect, and I know how, perhaps not exactly, but I've sharing some of those challenges, and I honor a lot this sharing in your life. I find it super interesting, super um, important, and also as Ronald, I appreciate this space as a learning space for everyone. So about me, um, currently I'm also independent consultant. Um, I've been working on first as soon as I started practicing with system dynamics tools, simulation, strategic decision making processes, I got I got some master studies abroad. I started working for international organizations on food security and regional security and social security policy and so on. I quit that job. I was a researcher. I was working for European Commission and UN, and then I just realized that all my work, which was quite innovative, will be in a publication, and that's it. So, and I said like, this is not what I came to do in the world. So I came back to Mexico, um, and I started working with some communities I love here, some autonomous regions um, that yeah, that were developing some content. I met there my favorite scientists, and we started combining work coming from different epistemologies and worldviews. I work a lot with kids. Although this is not something that I do very common in my work, I work a lot with kids back then, developing materials for learning about how to address complexity, how to defend land, how to build a model to defend land and to assess the environmental impacts with the kids. And I also collaborate with an organization that is called the Sustainability Laboratory. So there we integrate cybernetics, system dynamics, and a sustainability framework that has in the center a spiritual component that is ethical code to behave towards matter and others. So with them, what we do is finding these places where there are a lot of challenges, where regenerating life seems impossible, and where regenerating social bonds seems impossible, and economic and symbolic and so on. So when we find those places, we start working there. The first laboratory has achieved with the Bedouinian Palestinian people in Israel that are completely, you know, out of the system and mistreated. With them, we have achieved to regenerate the desert land that was said to be impossible by science. So now they are harvesting their medicinal plants, they have their livestock, they're storing energy. So like we are working on those types of projects. And we have there Melina's son too, right? Hola, ¿qué tal? Qué lindo tomar clases con tu mami, ¿no? And yeah, I am part of that. I am also part of an ecoversity that is called UMA. It's part of the network of different pedagogic practices and organizations that are around the world, building autonomy, other ways of learning. And everything that I'm sharing is like in the core of my heart, although I also do strategic and systemic work for companies, helping them to achieve some indexes of sustainability. And I also work with international organizations such as International Labor Organization, or some cooperation organizations such as CARE, Oxfam, CEPAL, building policy papers to advise governments where to go in a specific topic. What else? I am part of the Institute for Strategic Clarity community. The Institute for Strategic Clarity is based in Boston, and what we do there is building a network of very relevant key players to work in a very specific issue at societal level. So we've done that work at national level in US, at state level, at regional level in Latin America. So we with some strategic and system tools, we start building a common purpose or goal. We connect people. It's quite interesting because we do simulation and a lot of technical work, but we have a framework also and a practice to take care of the energy field and to take care of how people are deeply connected to the purpose from the heart. So we do these type of governance experiences that have achieved great system transformations. So we map the system and then we make a strategy with all these different key players. And this is something that I want to keep doing in the world. Sometimes I teach classes on system thinking and system dynamics in different parts of the world. And very recently, I moved here to Valle de Bravo. I have studied in the late years some courses on biomimicry in regenerative thinking, and also on some sort of framework related to consciousness. And I kind of combine that when I do a work. And I think that's it. Something that is, when I was listening to you, I was just like connecting with the experiences I have had in communities. And I just realized that I am happier in the best moments of my life and the most amazing moments of realization, collective realization, when you know, like you're working with a group and then suddenly we go to another state of consciousness or understanding of things using these tools. For me, has been working with the indigenous kids in Puebla, no, in Tosepan Cooperative, with the Mayan kids, with the indigenous women in Costa Rica, but they're from Nicaragua, that they didn't go to school. But when using these tools, there's like this common like space where we understand the same thing, and there's like a lot of agency there. So this has been like my greatest moments, and so glad to be here. And also Ronald, whatever is needed, we are a team. So now I team up with some very powerful girls from Latin America to do this type of work. And anything that we are exploring also another ways of economy, another ways of connecting, not necessarily with money, right? But starting sharing experiences, tools, practices. We are studying that, how to make a business model of that. But anything that you think it's useful, we can share whatever is needed and whatever we can too.
Thank you, Vanessa. Thank you very much. That was really inspiring too. Okay, I think that time that we took to present ourselves and to hear what we are doing and what connects us, it was very, very important. I just want to, I will share again my screen to show a little bit of how we had been thinking this process of South connections. And there are like two things that we want to present right now, which we think that it is really important just for us as group to keep going. And one is the decision-making processes. And what I will take this off. And what we have, you know, like a suggestion for how to make decisions in our group is to have two different moments in whatever project we want to be and we want to you know, collaborate. There is one part which is really important, is the what this is, to ask this question is, the question is what this project has to have in order to be mine. You know, like if I want to be engaged in this project, I need to feel that it is my project. So what this project has to have in order to be mine, to feel it like it's my project. And after that, in the development of that project, of the collaboration, we have a strategy of decision making, and which means like a three different kind of approaches to agree and make decisions. One is to agree with it. So I put this in the map, like agreement rules. One is, yes, I agree with this project, let's go for it, like this thumb up. And there is another possibility that this is thumb in the middle, which is good enough for now. We know that it needs to be improved for several things, but let's go for it. For now, it's good enough for now. And the other one is I don't agree. And the only way to don't agree and put the thumb down is because you can justify this not agreement. If you have collaborated in the proposal, and if you have feel that this project is yours, if you find a no agreement, is because you are noticing something very important. So these are the rules that the reasons for this not agreement. One is the statement is against the purpose, the biggest purpose, and we haven't noticed it. The statement is affecting something or somebody, not still considering in the system. Oh, I just realized that if we do this, we are not taking into account that group of people or whatever, you know, that we haven't thought about it. And the third is that the statement will stop this person, myself in this case, to accomplish my functions. So this is like if I notice things afterwards in the decision-making process, we can say, oh no, I don't agree because I can't do my thing, and let's find a way to adapt or whatever the project. So this comes from sociocracy, and this is a basic kind of agreement rules for us to see. And how we are going to collaborate is another thing that we need to address today. So I did this this process, and how are we going to work and to interact together? And you can see this. I sent the map already. You have it in your email, but maybe I should copy it in the chat or somebody. Well, I will copy it after.
I can send it.
Ah, okay, great. So this, we have a Slack group which is a software where all the working streams are. And I will send the invitation today for you to join this Slack group. And the idea is also to have these monthly emails, and you know, like not too often if it is not necessary, but at least just like a, you know, like a following up, and as the working stream. That doesn't mean that we are not talking by email, but it means like a working stream, just having one email per month saying, okay, that's what we are at. And it will be a little bit more like a redundancy of communications for the Slack interaction and all the emails and things like that. And we want to have a monthly online meeting as this one. And it will depend maybe the frequency on the projects or the moments, the people available, etc. But the idea is also to respect our times together. And the last thing is that if we can plan some webinars, and you know, during the process, if as emerge, we can have maybe two meetings, no, one meeting for the group and one webinar with an invitee, or you know, like to talk about something very specific. And you know, like I don't know, maybe Tsitsi, we need you to you know, like illustrate us and teach us about something specific for our group. So we will plan a webinar in which Tsitsi will prepare something to present us. So it's not like a group discussion, but it's a presentation, a learning process. So that's part of how are we going to work. And I noticed that Mutis were right. So I want you to welcome.
Thank you very much, and apologies for my late joining. I had something urgent that cropped up. I'm happy to join you.
Thank you, Mutiswa. I just want to stop the presentation here for welcome you as the important person you are for us as well. So we just passed through all of us a little bit talking about ourselves. So I want you to do the same, and you know, present yourself and saying a little bit why you are here, and so everybody will have the sense, and maybe you will have the opportunity to look for the video of this call after, so you can hear all of us presentations again. So please go ahead.
Thanks very much, Melina. And yeah, my name is Mutizwa Mkute, and I'm happy to meet you, Vanessa, Tsitsi, whom I know a lot, and Ronald. So my name is Mutizwa Mkute. I'm based in Harare, Zimbabwe, and I do a lot of community development work, mostly in the areas of agriculture, natural resources management, climate change adaptation, and more recently I've moved into climate financing. There are a lot of potential opportunities for cooperation between people in the South, both, from a number of perspectives. And one of them is the epistemologies of the South that are hardly celebrated, or that often get poached and then get sort of owned by others who are not the originators of the idea. So coming from an education background, I think knowledge sharing and knowledge development in the South is something that is very critical for me, and something that I'll be interested in pursuing. But also how we can mobilize our energy and experiences to create solutions to the problems that are common between and among ourselves. So I'll stop there.
Okay, Well, that was short. But thank you very much. Thank you for being here, and yeah, knowing each other will really be an essential part of this group, because we can leverage. Yes, exactly. Very meaningful. Because we can understand how connect and how exchange between ourselves, and I think that that's one of the biggest power of Latin America and Africa, is that we connect very easily from the heart and from the being, and we can leverage, and we need to leverage these capabilities between the group and for what South-South interaction means. So I will just come back then for my presentation, the map, and so we were here, and when we see the expectations and needs that we are trying to address, we did this introduction of participants, and we also have this with 8 principles of the working stream, like the big, if you have already filled the big survey of the transformation mapping and analysis group, we have these 8 principles. I also have this map for you to explore more. And one thing that all the working streams want to be sure is that everybody participating in this process, we are committed to these principles, and that we want. So I will just pass through all of them, and I want you to share with us your commitment with the principles. So let's start with this one. Oh, I have this mode. I won't read everything. I will just read the title, and I want you to just open your microphones and say, yes, I agree, in order to have a little bit more of our common voice agreeing to these 8 core principles. So the first one is respect vulnerability and confidentiality. Do you agree with this?
I agree.
I agree too.
Okay.
What did they say? Did they respond?
Appreciation and attribution. That means not appropriation of ideas or sharings. Do you agree with that?
Yes, I do agree with that.
We have integrity and we honor our word. Do you agree with that?
I agree with that.
Yes.
We look for unity in diversity, controversy with civility. Do you agree with this?
Yes, I do.
You will have the opportunity to read again everything, no? It's just like a kind of a ritual here. The other one is challenge ideas, but not people. Like if we are discussing something, we are just discussing. We are not involving people in that or judging people for that. Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Call out to call in. So, we have this unity in purpose. And we commit to hold this whole thing together. Do you agree with that?
Yes.
Yes.
and own your intentions and your impact in the way you communicate or in the way we are working. Do you agree with that?
Yes.
Strongly agree.
Great. And step up, step back. So sometimes we need to have a step back for, you know, understand more the process and the conversations, and to be able to give voice to the no very high voices to express themselves. So
Yes,
do you agree
please.
with that? Thank you.
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you very much. So, okay, I have reminders of other things. Okay, so with yeah.
I have another idea. So we could actually even, I think, make the principles more concrete for our work stream. So it might be an idea that, as we have commented on them in general, we could, in subsequent meetings of the work stream, we could actually maybe look at one or two and then unpack them in a bit more detail to say, what does this really mean in the context of our common purpose, and how we want maybe to also walk the talk, so that it's not abstract, but it's really part of our lived realities, seeing we are also very diverse. So we can also practice what we are trying to sort of preach in that sense.
Okay, that's one thing we can do, absolutely. And I think that also we can put it at more locally attuned, like what that means for African, and Africa is so big and Latin America is so big that we can start to, just in that discussion, start to understand our continents in a better way, and it could be a, you know, a tool for understanding further what means to be in the South. So I think that we can foster that even further. That's a very nice idea. And the other point that we wanted to understand a little bit is, what is this common purpose, sorry, on the in this working stream. And we have you know, like already kind of a project about that, and we want to explore with you, and maybe we can make a little round, close, short, and substantious sharing on how do you feel that having a project called Development from the South, or if you have thought or feel or intuitive being into what we can do together as a common purpose beyond this kind of having this project and develop that. Or but I wanted to show you right away, because I think that it could be really important to see that you know, like we already have kind of a vision of what we can do, but at the same time maybe there are more lines coming out from this common purpose and how we can name this common purpose. So I want to open the mic for Mutiswa, who just arrived, and you know, like what do you think is this common purpose for this group? What's your expectation about that?
Well, I think we could do something that unites us and that generates value for us as people that are involved in the work stream, but more especially for the people that we normally serve. So we could probably identify a community which could be at niche level, but a community that could be a specific group of people that we normally work with. For example, they could be development facilitators. And then we try to apply the idea of transformation with them in the context of South-South issues, issues that have a common, that are common in our context.
Great, thank you. I'm taking notes in the chat for all to see. So maybe Vanessa, would you like to share with us?
Yeah. I would like to think about something higher, but what comes to my mind now is perhaps just sharing a situation I've seen in many, the application of many of these tools, that there's like an embedded worldview on how to solve things and how to go with specific conditions or experiences. And there is, I think, less occasions where we are capable of creating our own visions of future or desired reality and apply intentionally this type of tools, this type of way of seeing the world and life to go together with it. So in that sense, one purpose that I see is to be able to have shared experiences, to start practicing what does it mean to make our own system transformation practice. What does it mean? What does it mean from starting from creating our own imaginaries of what's possible for us and what we want? And how do we engage people? How we build the common language, how that language is shared by other epistemologies and worldviews. How do we step out of this very formal way of practicing certain techniques and start engaging will, heart, mind in everything we do? So for me, it's like this opportunity of having experiences and sharing together this meaningful learning that comes out of building and creating and generating our own systemic transformation in our territories. That's one thing. And the other, it's about building this trust and solidarity bonds between us, being able to share resources, practices, a call for advice. Like now, just listening to Ronald Mutizwa, Tsitsi, Melina, I feel like, oh my God, if there's like a community doing this work, perhaps I can connect them with you. So like building these bonds and solidarity network with a lot of trust, this is something that I would like to see happening here. And I have to go, but I will listen to the recording. I'll try to keep here some extra minutes.
Thank you.
People join the other meeting, yes.
Thank you, Vanessa. Ronald, would you like to share? You are in mute.
Okay, thank you. The rest of the members for your wonderful contribution. So basically, when I look at this kind of commitment, the idea that pops in my mind is that in terms of, for example, system, we need to try to focus on how to create, for example, dialoguing with the system, because that is also one way of transforming the system itself. For example, if the networks involved in the system, the level of engagement, the processes involved, the partnerships, and then some of the things that bring members together. So when you look at the complexity involved with system, it would be good to transform the system itself. Then the other aspects that also comes into my mind is the aspect of regenerating learning, because we all know that most people don't really, most institutions, most groups do not really learn from the actions. So the best way to learn is when they actually apply these insights into action, and then transform the way how the system works, even the structures, even the processes, and the people involved, even the network itself. So it would be good to also focus on that. The other aspect I was also thinking, because maybe before the other one, is it will also be good in terms of feedback. For example, if we are working with in a certain network or community of practice, it will also propel the kind of feedback that we get from the groups as well. Then finally, I was also of a view that when you look at the way we communicate evidence, or the way we communicate change in the lives of the people who are affected by the intervention, it should be owned by the people themselves. So the way we communicate this finding can also be transformed through this kind of system that we are building in place, so that even if we are mapping out, for example, outcomes from the very beginning, from the design stage, in terms of how we put in place, for example, our theory of change, it should not remain stagnant. Let's say, for example, we have a long-term intervention. So this has to be transformed with the changes, or with the new evolving concept, with the new situation that arises, the normal aspect that comes along the way, so that what matters is mapped, and what do not matter is also challenged, as one of the principles that Melina has even talked about, so that they drive through a new direction and challenge the other always, because the system is complex and the new needs or changes have emerged. Thank you.
Thank you, Ronald. Tsitsi, please.
Yeah. So for me, thank you so much, colleagues. I relate a lot with everything that colleagues have shared so far. And I just want to build on that and say, one of the common purposes that sort of seems to be cutting across from what I'm hearing colleagues share, and what resonates with me very well, is this idea of building a learning community. And I like it because I feel very strongly that we all have a lot to share based on our own professional experiences and backgrounds, and even the work that we're doing, but even more importantly, exploring what that means in terms of our personal interests and even long-term intentions. So I feel that it is very possible that we can co-create the space as a learning community space. What that also means for me is that as we do it, we can actually even have presentations, a presentation about a specific tool that someone has applied in their own context of work. It can even be a teaching kind of training opportunity, where someone can actually also show us and demonstrate how to use a particular framework, a particular model, a particular tool. And as we do that, I like the possibility, which sort of touches on what Ronald is saying about theory of change. I like the possibility of actually reframing or redefining or reimagining how change can also happen outside of our sort of usual or our normal frameworks, our normal lenses that we use. So for me, that is very exciting. It's very attractive, and I really would like to explore that. So the other side of that sort of coin, which also speaks to how we can do this, I like the idea, which Vanessa sort of was alluding to also, of using the whole person, your body, your mind, your soul, and your spirit in this. And I'm attracted to that also because of my passion around indigenous knowledge systems, because I feel these have been neglected for too long. And I think that in this space of South-South exchanges, in the true spirit of Ubuntu, we can actually begin to appreciate each other's backgrounds, each other's cultures, the ways we do things, and what meaning we attach to those things. Because I think this is where we can shift the trajectory from the formal, scientific, proven kind of framing of things, and depart perhaps from the Western epistemologies that always perhaps suggest that if you cannot prove it, Ronald, because it's results based, for example, therefore you cannot measure it, which for me is not necessarily true, because whose reality counts in this space? Whose reality are we talking about? So even if you cannot quite measure it using the contemporary indicators or the ways that traditionally in our programming we measure things, we don't necessarily have to disqualify it. We need to then humble ourselves, get into the skin of those beneficiaries, those target groups that we are trying to influence, whose change we are also trying to contribute to, so that they too can help us to learn, to appreciate what it means for them. And then that way we can contribute to sustainability. And for me, that then means we can reframe our notions of sustainability, even our notions of development, and even definitions of that, and come up with different ways of looking at the same. And like Mutiso said, South-South collaboration has much more to offer in the body of knowledge, of systems, transformation, change, you name it. And I think we can write books about this. So you can see I get excited the more we talk about these things. Mutizwa knows this.
Thank you. I'm trying to take some notes, so I'm processing at the same time. I'm taking notes, and they're not exactly, but we have the recording as well, so it's just to have it a little bit more like. So
Can I add something, Melina?
yeah, of course. Sorry, I haven't seen.
Yeah, I think what is also coming through from all these contributions is perhaps the need for us to clarify the concept of South and how we are going to work with it. And therefore also what South-South cooperation or exchange means, especially in the context of transformation and sustainability. I think that kind of concept paper would be quite useful, because it would help us engage even with communities, because the South is found both geographically and also socially. It can be treated as a metaphor for groups of people that are marginalized or disadvantaged in some way. So the question of power and so on. So it will be quite, I think, worthwhile for us to spend some time developing a concept note on this.
Thank you, Mutiswa. That was really nice. So, well, I agree with everything that has been said. I really appreciate everyone, and I see already the co-creation and the complementation of all of us, and that's super nice and super powerful. And I think that I want to, remark that one power that we have in the South is this kind of resonance, easy resonance. And I almost can say telepathy, like we can just agree in a way that we cannot name it, or that it is even not necessary to name, but that means like another kind of functioning of our mind, that it is not the regular, when we interact with North America, North Americans or Europeans or I feel that I have to push me down and to anchor and like to wait for everybody to say everything. And one time I asked an American, from United States, about that. Why you are always saying everything? Like, and he said, you know what? Because our language has been used for so much damage. And in the colonization of United States, it was used in a way that it tricked all the Native Americans, of the indigenous people, were tricked by the difference of interpretation of their English language. And so we want to be sure that we are not doing the same thing. And I was shocked because I thought that it was kind an uncomfortable thing. But at the same time, I realized that this contrast was super interesting for us to, like having kind of a cultural exchange. And I want to say that because that made me reflect in how we can connect from the heart and from all these feelings, mind and body from another perspective. So I want to rescue that in a very powerful way. I think that this publication kind of reflection of all what will be doing is a very powerful idea as well, and that this will help us to understand what means development from the South. So I want to add in these concepts what development is, and what we really think in contrast with the global development concept of what it's emerging really from this South, and this South also as a concept that we really need to understand. Because if we see it just geographically, actually, like I have many colonized minds around myself, around me. Like, so what South means really, that's super important point. And so this kind of looking for a publication for what means development from the South is, I think, one of the main, like a poles that can attract us towards the whole discussions and the whole understandings. So that's what I feel now. I wanted to share, and I think that joining and all the ideas from everyone will help us to really put that together. So I will just propose that our task now is to resume this and make it put it in our Slack group and an email, and trying to reflect. And I will ask you all to reflect a little bit more on this in order to complement what we had been thinking. And this record will be also seen by the other members of the group who are not here. So we want to include their point of view as well. So I think that this will be like a document that will be growing, and I think that for the next month we will have like a whole, like a purpose construction together, to read and to agree upon, and to like make changes, or identify some things that we can start to put objectives a little bit more concrete for the next steps after that. And I definitely agree with the use and the like making pilots of it with our communities, like, and trying to go to the source, let's say, and bring information from that. And that's thing has to be included. So I don't know if maybe Tsitsi has something more to say now, and I think that we are done for today. So Tsitsi, I let you the last word.
Thank you, Melina, for leading us through this. So Mutizwa, You missed this in the introduction. So Melina and myself are the co-conveners of this work stream. So Melina is representing the South, as in South, South and Latin America, and I am representing the South from Africa. So you will see us, even in the communication at times, one leads on something and we can both lead on the same or differently. So maybe let's use the remaining about 10 minutes to bring closure to this initial convening. I just want to thank everyone for all your contributions and all your insights. And seeing that this is just the beginning, obviously I am now processing a couple of things that are now in the air, and perhaps even thinking about possibilities in terms of where we can actually go with this work stream. But in designing this first convening, Melina and I were already thinking that it would also be good to sort of get an idea of what would be our preferred way of working. So thank you again from the survey that we asked you to complete as we're preparing for this work stream. We're already asking you for those kind of suggestions. And from the feedback that we got, it looks like, yeah, we can continue with the monthly emails, but making sure that it's not too much, but also leaving it to colleagues on the work stream to also prompt and make further suggestions, so that it's not always coming from me and Melina, seeing that we are also very diverse. So you will be definitely hearing from us once in a while, in a month, in between our scheduled meetings, as it were. And as we do that, we would like already to ask when can we have our next convening? One of the reasons that we didn't have as many people in this convening is partly because of competing interests and demands on our time. Already Mutizwa came in late, Vanessa has already had to leave, and I'm sure all of us, we are also busy people. So we were wondering what would be the best way of actually scheduling our meetings, and with what frequency? How often do we want to have these meetings? So please think about it and make a suggestion, including for the next date, so that we can continue our conversation. Secondly, and in terms of that kind of communication, we already have a Slack channel that has been created by Sam and Glenn. Can I ask every one of us to join, to link up with that? You just register. And when you register, you also see the vortex of everybody else. You know, we're still building up this, using the software that Melina was taking us through to build that picture of who is who and what are your interests and some of the connections between us. Please register for Slack. You also see that within that Slack platform, every workstream has got a channel. And a channel is a specific platform that we can continue to communicate, to continue to share information among ourselves, but also with others that may not necessarily have subscribed to the workstream, but are also interested to just appreciate what's going on, so that the bigger group can continue to be connected with what we are doing, even if they are not participating in our specific convenings. And we felt that way is the best way to keep everyone informed about what is going on in every other work stream. Please register for Slack, and please let's use it. At times I'm posting questions there. I've already posted something. Melina has already posted something. Even the Vortex presentation that she did, we would like to develop it. So please, can you check for your bubble and then develop your bubble further, so that we have as much information about you as possible. And then that information will be shared with everyone else in the bigger systems transformation working group. There was also a suggestion from Sam. Sam is the fellow who's also like the secretariat of the bigger social systems transformation working group. He also suggested that maybe we could also use a doodle for scheduling meetings. So it also depends on what is preferable for some of us. Some of us are still learning some of these softwares. So for me, for example, I'm saying yes to everything because I also want to learn about them. So your strategy could be different, but I like it because so far, for me, even in the other work streams that I've participated, it seems to work. And then lastly, like I had suggested, the issue of the principles. we could actually make it our business to say whenever we meet, we pick one or two, and then we unpack them to say, how do we apply them in our work stream as part of our learning to apply them in the bigger scope of things, and including in our own work areas, so that we are walking the talk, but at the same time, we continue to learn. And then we can always come back and give each other feedback about how that experience went for us. Lastly, Mutizwa, I like your idea of a concept note. So one of the things that we're already discussing with Glenn was actually the need to fundraise, for example, because there could be, of course, we are all under lockdown, COVID lockdown, but we were imagining that if we didn't have the COVID, and because we're talking about South-South exchange might actually require a bit of travel, or a different way of convening in this space. And we're already thinking it might be an idea to also fundraise for some of the engagements that we might want to do that will require some money to be put up front or something like that. So if you are in agreement, we are also going to take note of that, and we will be touching base with you as we develop that concept note. And I think it will be a very good way of already walking the talk by fundraising for the kind of interactions and exchanges that we could also do within the workstream. So I really, really like that idea of a concept note. If you had not raised it, Mutizwa, I already had it on my cards and I was going to raise it in the subsequent meetings, but thank you for already doing that. And can you, if you don't mind, already sort of give us some idea, maybe a few lines to say we could develop a concept note around this, and then we can all convene and make inputs into that, and then we can see how we can structure it moving forward if colleagues are in agreement, because I like us to talk about things but also translate them into action so that we don't lose them. So these are the proposals. I know there are many, but feel free to respond.
That was
anyone?
I'm happy to do something to introduce the concept note.
Excellent. And if you can do that, then we can actually even also post it on our Slack channel, so that maybe those that haven't signed up to our work stream, they can also be motivated. So we can use it for so many other reasons. And thank you for that. So what will be the date? Thanks also, Ronald, I see you're proposing M&E within the concept note. Excellent, because I know that a lot of us working in development still struggle a lot with issues of monitoring and evaluation. So thank you so much. Just put something again, write up a small brief about what it could be about, and then we can all contribute and see what emerges out of it. Okay.
Okay, maybe some ideas that I thought of when we were discussing as we were concluding. A lot of things have emerged in this discussion, and there was this one thing I was also thinking about. When you look at the development of the South, the aspect of innovation, but this time around we are looking at, especially when you relate with the aspect of learning, when you relate with the aspect of exchange, we need to look at those low-cost innovation that can be replicated to also define sometimes sustainability. Because when we generalize certain aspects, sometimes even a small thing which is happening in the South, which can also be contextualized, but also can also be globalized in terms of low-cost innovations. But because we don't listen to, they end up actually dying or not even growing. And some of this can save us a lot in terms of resources, time, and so on. Now, the idea of the concept note, yes, because one way we can also bring this is maybe Melina can highlight, or maybe Tsitsi as well, in terms of from a strategic point of view, when you ask yourself, what is our strategy? yes, if we have the strategy, what are these key indicators that we want to measure and track as we go along in our collaboration, in our engagement in these work streams and so on? Somehow, I would also challenge ourselves that we need to convene or another discussion where we can propose some of these key indicators that at the end of the day or progressively, we can ask ourselves, yes, where are we in terms of these key indicators or key markers of progress? That would also be good in terms of assessing our progress. Then the concept note now would fit in very, very well, because from the concept note, we can also elongate and make it more in terms of a bigger project or in terms of a bigger kind of proposal for fundraising. Because a lot of things will come up, and some of them would definitely require probably even maybe face-to-face collaboration in addition to travel and so on and so forth. So we can also do more in addition to the online engagement. So I look forward to that. Thank you.
Excellent, Ronald. So I suggest that in your summary, please include all these ideas, and then we can continue to explore them together. I'm just mindful of the time. So what would be our proposed date for the next engagement? Initially, Melina and I were thinking that we need to meet at least once a month. So today is 21 July. Would we want to also meet in August at a sort of more convenient date? And if so?
Yeah, I think that is a good idea. And maybe we can also challenge ourselves, maybe on that date, what would we be focusing on in terms of
Agenda.
Exactly. So we can start proposing that as well.
Yes, please.
I think the idea is a good one.
I want to be
Please.
also to be sure that the time we are doing it is good for you. I guess
maybe maybe for me, I would think we can extend it a little bit by 1 hour.
Okay.
I don't know from the rest of the team. Yes, 1 hour ahead would be good.
Okay. 1 hour ahead. So at your
in terms of time.
What time do you have?
Well, I was looking, today we started at 3 p.m. Aurora time, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So I was thinking if we can push it to 4 p.m.
Does it work for Tsitsi and Mutis well as well?
You mean to start later than we did today?
Yeah.
Yes. Like 1 hour, okay. 1 hour later, like.
Okay.
That would work for me as long as it's not a Wednesday, because I have meetings on Wednesdays that start at 5.
Okay, so it means no Wednesday.
Yeah.
Okay. That's
for me. I was also going to make a general suggestion, which is linked to the idea of a do-do.
Yeah.
and I was going to suggest that we could use a do-do to decide on the date during the week of 17 to 21 August.
Perfect. Okay, we will do the lead.
Yeah, excellent. So other than that, for me, I want to hand it back to Melina so that she can bring this to closure. Thank you, colleagues. Let's keep this conversation going via email. And Melina and I will continue with the group email, where I'm sure you are all, which we used for the invitation. And as new people join in, we will be adding them. Please reach out to also some of your colleagues, your friends, your networks, so that we can grow this work stream together. Those people that you know might also be interested. We haven't closed the sort of recruitment, so feel free to share. Thank you so much for such a productive meeting. Back to you, Melina.
Thank you very much, and everyone. I will be sending the Slack invitations right after this call ends, so we will be able to join. I suggest to download the application to your desktop or your cell phone, so you will have the notifications there, and you can just pass through and take a look of some communications in our working stream. And if you have any questions about that, or you know, like if you need some guide for that, or for anything else like a logistical, please just reach me, and if I cannot help, I will ask help for all. So and I think that's all. We cover everything. If you please have any other comment, please share it in the Slack, so we will have more conversations in that platform. And also you can take a look of the other platforms that are already there, like not platforms, I mean other working streams. So so you can also get a little bit more idea of what is happening there. And maybe you will notice that there is like a map in Kumu for this transformation mapping and analysis. And if you fill all the questions, you can ask actually for, if you're interested in put your information there and making connections there, please, you know, like take a look of the people in that network who are very interested as well. So I think that this is growing connections, and this is very important. So as Tsitsi say, please bring more people, you know. I am trying to do the same. So thank you very much, everyone. I got cough. And,
Sorry about that.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Have a
Melina.
good day.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
much.
you very
Bye.
much.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.